everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Improve Nutrition in Bakery Products with Pulse Flowers. So thank you for being here today. So my name is Aurélie da Silva, and I will be hosting this event with my two colleagues, Domitil and Nathan. So just a quick review over the agenda. So we will have a brief introduction and reminder of who is Limagrain Ingredients. Then we'll quickly share the latest market trends in the UK with you. And after that, we will, of course, present to you our functional ingredients that are made with pulse flowers. And we will end this webinar with a Q&A session. So just a quick reminder. So all the attendees are on mute, but you can, of course, ask us a question in the tab question that is on the right side of your screen. So we will answer to the questions at the end of the webinar. But if we don't have time to do so, we will get back to you personally to answer your questions. The presentation is recorded and will be sent to you after the webinar. So now I leave my colleague Nathan present to you Limagrain Ingredients.
Thank you, Aurélie. So Limagrain Ingredients, we are part of the Limagrain Cooperative Group. We are owned by 1,500 farmers and we're based in the Auvergne region in the centre of France. Limagrain itself is the #4 seed company worldwide, and by seeds we sell seeds such as tomato, vegetable seeds that farmers are able to grow for crops. And we're present in 56 countries, and the important thing here for us to stress is that we reinvest around 16% of our seed sales back into research. So here in the UK, we have our site in Rothwell, and here we do a lot of the wheat breeding for the UK market. Limagrain Ingredients. So we were created in 2002. So we're quite a young company by some standards. However, we have grown significantly since 2002 to have sales of around 150 million euros a year. We process more than 330,000 tons of cereals a year, and we have 7 production sites. Our sites are located in the Auvergne region, and here we have our blending site, our wheat and maize mills. In the north of France, we have our functional flour site. And we also have a site in the Netherlands where we produce puff cereals and also some further functional flours. I will now hand back to Aurélie.
Thank you very much, Nathan. So as explained at the beginning, so we'll just here present to you the market trends for the UK market, focusing on bakery and pastry products. So as you know, of course, taste and pleasure are very important elements to take into account when a consumer is buying its food. However, there are 2 new concerns that have stood out over the past year and that are now major elements to consider. And by that, I mean nutrition and health and ingredients, so the ingredients that you can find in a product. So when talking about nutrition and health, we need to understand that consumers are looking for products with enhanced nutritional profile, which can be achieved by adding specific nutrients like fibers, proteins, whole grains, and much more. So this is a way to reach, of course, specific claims like high or source of fibers, source of proteins, but it also helps to obtain healthier products. So the inclusion of health-boosting ingredients like herbs, spices, probiotics are another option to develop healthier products that can also help boost the immunity. So in addition, diet-friendly products remain also very attractive to consumers. And by that, we mean, well, products that are reduced in sugar, low in fat, low in calorie, for example. So now when we talk about the ingredients, so it is mainly related to the increasing demand for natural, clean, and non or less processed ingredients. And this is commonly known today as clean and clear label products. So consumers are, of course, looking for trustworthy ingredients that can be allergen-free, thanks to all the wheat alternatives that are now available on the market. So this is a way to have an access to healthier and clean and clear products, but it's also a way for industrials to open new horizons and suggest new possibilities for unique and new flavors. So in 2019, 37% of the UK bread users have reduced the amount of bread they have eaten in the past year because of health problems. So this clearly shows that consumers are aware of the link between food and health, and that they are now very well concerned with what they eat. So we can also see two systems that go along with that trend. You can find the Nutri-Score or the traffic light system. And these two elements are also a way to indicate the nutrient profile of a product, showing if it's a good or less interesting nutrient profile. So it's also, this basically shows some very important thing about the trend, and it's also very important for industrials today to improve in general the nutrient profile of the products if they want to make them more appealing to consumers because of the different needs that they are now facing. Thank you. And now I will let my two colleagues present to you our functional ingredients with pulse flours.
Thank you. So in this slide, we are looking at how we produce our functional flours. So the way that we do this is we look at different cereals, pulses, rice, and we'll also look at different varieties and also specific traits within the grains or flours as well, such as waxy. The process we use is through a heat treatment process, which is unique to Limagrain. And then through this heat treatment, we are able to heat up the flour to sort of give you a pre-gelatinization. And then we also are able to control the particle size through sieving. This is then able to give you specific needs that you require for your product. So by specific needs, we talk about the functionality, whether this is hot or cold binding, and then also the different application as well. So in this presentation, we are looking at specifically pulse flours in bakery products, but we also produce flours for culinary purposes such as soups and sauces. Our products are all clean label and are labeled just as the flour. So for example, the maize will be labeled as maize and wheat as wheat. As you can see with this slide here, we have a wide range of pulse flours. These flours can be used for both bakery and pastry applications, and they have several nutritional benefits. As you can see on the table on the right-hand side of the slide, products such as the fava bean and the red lentil are high in protein, whereas products such as the chickpea and the green pea are high in fiber. Through the heat treatment process, we are able to control the hydration capability of the flours. We also reduce the pulse bitterness that you can sometimes get. So the earthy flavour that comes through with chickpea, this is significantly reduced through the heat treatment process and therefore doesn't come through in the final product. The heat treatment process also makes our pulse flours microbiologically stable, and they also have a nice colour to them, which is then reflected in the final product. The colours that you can see are down the bottom here of the slide. And as I've mentioned, these come through in the product for biscuits and also bread. As you can see with this slide for functional flours for pastry products, we have used this in various biscuits recipe. And here you can see we've used red bean, fava bean and chickpea. As you can see here that we are now able to look at a source of protein and rich in fibres on the red bean, and the fava bean has also increased, give you a source of protein, as well as the chickpea. You can also see from the picture as well that the colour has also come through in the biscuit. The red bean will also impart a slightly sweeter flavour to your product. With regards to short crust pastry, again, we have used the red bean, fava bean and chickpea within the pastry products themselves.
I will continue with the short crust recipe. The Pulse functional flours provide originality to the crust, but we have also the benefits of enrichment in proteins and in fibers. As you can see, we increase the protein content of 3% with 15 of Wester fababine, and we increase the fiber content of 3% with the Wester red bean. We have also a sensory benefit because the pulses flours contributes to the crispiness, but you can keep in mind that if you research more crispiness, we have also granulated pulse flours in our range. I continue with another example. This time the recipe is a cake batter, in particular a gluten-free Madeleine recipe. As you know, the formulation of a gluten-free recipe could become difficult. You know that the texture of the batter is very important. If the dough is too liquid, there will be splashes on the production line and some problems during the filling of the baking tins. There will be also problem on the final product in terms of development, shape, and so on. On the table, you can see the recipe with the rest of chickpea. It brings a very good hydration and water binding capacity, and it contributes to the good viscosity of the batter. Now I will introduce enrichment in proteins with 3 protein premixes. In our range, we have 3 premixes. They contain respectively chickpea flour, fababine flour, yellow lentil flour, red lentil flour for source of protein premix. In the rich in protein premix, we can find pea proteins, chickpea flour, and gluten from wheat. And we have a version with inclusions. In this case, we added toasted red lentil inside. In this way, we bring some visual markers in the final product. You can see on the slide that we can have the claim high in proteins for a biscuit made with around 20% of rich in protein premix. In this case, it means that 20% of calories are provided by the proteins. I just finished with my part. Nathan will continue to give you some examples for bakery product now.
Thank you. So looking into our bakery product range, and so what we have run various tests and looking at the ways of improving fiber and proteins within our products. Using the pulse flours, we have tried red bean, fava bean, and chickpea. As you can see from the control, with a 15% addition of our pulse flour range, we have managed to improve the fiber to give you a source of fiber within the product. We have also been able to increase the protein level of the products as well, compared with that of the control, and to be able to give you a source of proteins. With regards to the pulse flours within the actual mix of the dough, we have seen that there has been no real effect in terms of mixing, so processing the dough has been kept the same as the control. This slide is demonstrating the use of pulse flours within soft tortilla, and you can see here that the red bean and chickpea have both been able to increase the fiber level to give you a source of fiber. Whilst the fava bean has not been able to increase the fiber level enough to give you a source of fiber, you can see here that the protein level has been significantly increased compared with that of the control. Here we are looking at a 10% incorporation of the pulse flours, with removing 10% of the wheat flour as a replacement. With regards to the pictures, you can see that the red bean has given a red colour to the product. The fava bean is slightly lighter, and the chickpea has given a yellow tinge to the product. So these are also giving you a visual aid as well. With regards to the protein premix, we are also able to use this within our bread applications. Here we have an addition rate of 25% on the flour weight, so with 80% wheat flour. With regards to the water level, this can be increased between 62 to 66%, and this depends on the strength of the wheat flour that you use within your bakery processes. We have also added wheat gluten to be able to balance the product. As you can see here, the protein level has finished with around 14% protein within the product and giving you a source of fiber as well at 3%. Because we've used this with inclusions, it's given a nice visual aspect to the product and also texture whilst eating. So finally, we'll look at our toasted pulses solution. And these are products that are produced in our site in the Auvergne region of France. And we have two products here of a toasted red lentil and toasted chickpea. Within bread products, we've used the toasted red lentil. The toasted red lentil itself is 30% protein and 17% fiber. It has natural benefits to be able to give you sort of the increase in fiber to give you a source of fiber and protein within your product. And this is at an inclusion rate of 15% within the dough. The sensory benefits gives a crunchy texture as well as great flavour and visual aspect to the crumb. And again, it is clean label, so therefore it is only labelled as toasted red lentil.
I hope this time you can hear me. Everything is okay? Okay, thank you. We have also another kind of toasted grains in our range. This is the toasted broken chickpea. Toasted broken chickpea contains 24% of proteins and 15% of fibers. It is very interesting. You can see a picture of these ingredients on the left. With these toasted grains, we bring a great taste, without the bitterness of native pulses. During the making, we don't have impact on the processability. And in a biscuit, it brings the crispiness and visual markers. You can have a look on the picture. You can see an abstract of the nutritional values in the table to the right. We can see that we achieve 21.7% of proteins when we had almost 10% of toasted broken chickpea.
Thank you very much, Nathan and Domitil, for this presentation. So before we end the presentation of our solution, so they and my colleagues have now presented to you our options with pulses flour to improve the nutritional benefits of your products, but there are of course many other ways to do so, and a lot of different options that can be used and added in products. So you can improve the nutritional benefits of your products by reducing the sugar or fat content, but it can also be done and achieved by adding fibers, whole grain, the toasted ingredients that were presented just before by Nathan. And we also have some inclusions like grains and seed, and you can, of course, we also have some Fresco products which are puffed cereals, and that can also be very helpful to improve the nutritional benefits of your product. So you have several options at your disposal should you need to improve the nutritional benefits of your bakery and pastry product. So now we're nearly at the end of our webinar, and it's time for the Q&A session. So as explained at the beginning, you have a specific chat for questions. Do not hesitate to put your questions here, and we'll take the time to get back to you and answer your questions. So we have one first question. First question is, can we cast as vegan your pulses flours? And what about your premixes? So I will let Nathan or Domitil answer that question. Thank you.
I can take that one. So in terms of the pulses flours themselves, which are produced at our site in the northern France, yes, these can be classed as vegan. With regards to the premixes, we would need to study this to ensure that we can give you a vegan claim. And the reason for this is that because they are blended at our blending site where we use sort of say non-vegan materials, then we would need to make sure that a process is in place so as you can make this claim with your product.
Okay, thank you very much, Nathan. So we have a second question, and I think, Domitille, this question is for you. So so you talk about the crispiness of the product during the presentation. So was it tested through sensory analysis or using a texture analysis machine?
Yeah, okay. I think you speak about biscuits with pulses, in which we observed a good crispiness. In this case, this result was evaluated by sensory analysis. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have several other questions. So it's once again regarding our premixes. So can we use the premix for both bakery and pastry products?
I could take this one. Yes, with regards to the premixes, as we've demonstrated today, in a couple of the slides, we've shown that the premix can be used for both pastry and bakery products such as bread.
Okay. We have another question. So is there any strong aftertaste in the end products when using pulse flours? And maybe what about the texture?
In terms of the finished product, yes, there is a slight taste from the pulse flours, but this is sort of but as mentioned, this is very much reduced compared to the bitterness or real earthy flavour that you would get from an unheat treated pulse flour. In terms of texture, I have observed that the bread itself, from sort of as an example from the premix, has a soft texture very similar to that of your standard loaf of bread. And with regards to biscuits, you still have that crunchy crispiness that you want from a biscuit.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have time for one or two more questions. So here's the next question. So are the pulse flours allergen free? Regarding the cross-contamination, is it possible?
No, it's not possible because we have a specific dedicated line for gluten-free product, and yes, pulse flours are gluten-free, and we control the process, and we have a specific dedicated line, production line. Nathan, if you want to complete, maybe.
Yes, so just to say that with our dedicated line, we are able to guarantee less than 20 parts per million with regards to the pulse flour. However, if your requirements are for less than 5 parts per million, as most of the UK market is, we can research this with our quality team, and we are able to look at a positive release.
Okay, and we have one last question. So can we actually mix two pulse functional flours, and would there be any benefits?
So as we've seen with our source of protein premix, we have 3 or 4 different flours here that have been mixed together to be able to give you a claim of source of protein within your product. Mixing 2 flours together is quite possible. Something like fava bean mixed with chickpea could increase both protein and fiber content. Fava bean itself is also able to give you a whitening of a crumb in a bread loaf similar to that of soya flour if you'd like to look at going soya free.
Okay, thank you very much, Nathan and Domitille. So I think we arrived at the end of our webinar. So we've had other questions. We unfortunately don't have the time to answer them today, but we will get back to you personally with the questions and proper answer. So thank you all very much for attending this webinar. It was a pleasure to have you here and present you our solutions. And we are available should you have any specific questions. So thank you very much and have a nice day.